Hi Aquarius, I hope you're doing well today. Aquarius, welcome to your general reading. There are no time or dates specifically attached to this reading, so if the message finds you today or a couple of weeks from now or a couple of months from when it's being recorded, that's absolutely fine. It's not restricted in that sense. Please feel free to swap and reverse the characters as well. So if I'm saying one side is the Aquarius but you're resonating far more with the other side, that's absolutely fine. Just swap and reverse them however you need. It's just much easier for me to sort of channel everything from one perspective, otherwise it can get a bit confusing. And then the last thing is please remember that it is a general reading, so make sure that you're just putting everything through your intuition all the time, double checking with yourself if this message is resonating with you and it is truly your situation, because we don't want anyone getting any misinformation or guidance that isn't necessarily for them. So also, I feel like I have to apologise for this in every single one of my readings. I'm sorry about the lighting. I always seem to sit down at the most inconvenient time to actually record. So as you can see, the sun is doing a lot of weird stuff, but I'm grateful for its presence today because it has been so dull and cloudy recently. So we'll just have to work with the light. I might end up shuffling around quite a bit. But anyway, Aquarius, let's start your reading. Let me figure out which deck we should start with. Okay, Brian Froud, my absolute inspiration, his deck, the fairies. I keep having dreams about the beings in this deck as well, and I recently just bought a new Brian Froud book. I was working with this deck really closely for a long time, like a couple of years, and then I sort of started branching out to some other ones, and I feel like it's kind of calling to me to sort of bring it back into circulation a bit more, because it has been in my previous readings, but definitely it hasn't featured as heavily. So, oh, there we go. Okay, I'm going to get one more because that card's been out quite a few times recently. One more for Aquarius, please. Two more for Aquarius. Okay, straight off the bat, this seems like, sorry, let's figure out how to do this. Okay, there we go. Straight off the bat, this seems like it's going to be a very specific sort of situation, because right here we have the feline and the pixie who was, the fairy who was kissed by pixies. And then we've got the singer of healing that also came out here. So just at first glance, this appears like it is a romantic situation that ended recently. And one that feels like you have been going through quite a long process of sort of tying up the loose ends. So whether you were sort of living together or perhaps you have children together, there's something about it being quite a weighted situation. Like there was a lot of weight attached to the ending of it. Obviously, any ending in a romantic relationship is obviously going to be difficult, and just to specify, I do not focus my readings on love, but this straight away is just coming across sort of quite evidently in the sort of romantic realm. I do try to tend to avoid readings in that area though, because I think that there's a few too many charlatans on YouTube sort of just wanting to tell people what they feel like they need to hear in order to sort of, I don't know, get more views. I don't sort of like that approach. That's just my opinion. But this definitely is coming across as sort of a romantic sort of situation that ended. But what they're specifying here more specifically is like the weight of it. And what I mean by that, I mean by it's not a decision that you could have come to lightly, because there is a lot that binds you both together. There's a lot that chains the both of you together, because you see how the feline is sort of like hunched over, like he's carrying an incredible weight, an incredible amount of burden. And I do want to say this is definitely a very long-term relationship that I'm looking at here, because you see how his wings are all sort of frailed and tattered. Sorry, the light's going. You see how his wings are frail and tattered. It's like the passage of time has just damaged them or just like worn them away. Things might have felt like very repetitive for the last couple of months, couple of years, probably a couple of years if you're really sort of you know, in a relationship where you have children, or you know, you're tied together in some sort of situation like that. There's a lot of a lot of things that need to be considered before you actually came to the decision of, okay, this is no longer for me, I'm going to walk away from this now. You know, there was a lot that needed to be processed in order to come to that decision. There was a lot of sort of weighing up of the negatives and the positives. But it might have felt like it was just getting really repetitive. And this sort of similar message kind of came across in the previous, or the one before that maybe, of Aquarius reading. But, you know, I say this every time, like, as an Aquarius, your mind always needs to be stimulated, right? Because you're an air sign. But you're one of the oldest air signs, so you always require something that is new and interesting and vibrant, right? Because you're ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is the expansive one. It's the one that causes us to think outside the box. It's the one that brings fresh new ideas to the table. So if an Aquarius is stuck in a cycle that just becomes extremely repetitive, an Aquarius won't flourish anymore. Aquarius will just get very bored very, very quickly and will just be like, right, this is not, it's not good for my personal growth, my personal development, my personal happiness. And that's what it feel like kind of was the final straw for you. Perhaps maybe you tried for a really long time to sort of freshen things up, make things feel like they were new again. And although, you know, obviously long-term relationships, you can't expect a constant source of excitement from them, you know, both parties have to give some sort of effort to keep it fresh and exciting, or to keep, you know, the candle burning, because long-term relationships, you know, you have to constantly put fuel to the fire, you know, you have to work at it, you have to evolve and grow together. But it feels like you, Aquarius, were growing at a much more rapid speed than the other individual. So whoever the other individual is, if you're a cross watcher, like I said, you can swap the roles, but it feels like the other individual was, I don't want to say stunted in their growth, but they just have remained quite stagnant. Whereas you, Aquarius, have been striving to continue your growth, continue your development, continue on your path to learning new knowledge, getting new experiences. So it's that kind of a dynamic. I'm sort of seeing like one plant growing like really beautifully and like blossoming and flourishing and bearing fruit, and then another one that's just kind of stayed quite kind of small and not really grown that much. So I'll get another card. Sorry, something else was starting to come through then, but I feel like I'll get another card just to be certain. So can we get some more on this, please, for Aquarius? Ooh. See how the lighting just changes so dramatically, and now there's just a massive black cloud that's just gone over the sun. Okay. Oh, the elk. Okay, so you had, Aquarius, the elk come out. Right, okay, so before, you know, when I said, oh, sorry, something else was starting to come through, and I wanted to just get another card to just be sure. So what was starting to come through was when I was talking of that analogy of the two plants sort of growing and one getting much larger than the other, I was getting this impression that it was like the largest plant, i.e. the person who's developing and growing and expanding a lot, was getting like all the sunlight and was actually blocking the sunlight from the smaller plant. And here we have this beautiful burning sun here, and then we have this massive elk energy, which is just, it's like, you see how this the antlers are like absorbing all of this light and all of this nourishment from the sun. It's like, you know, with the roots or the stems and the leaves, right? This is what I was saying about, it feels like that plant is kind of the one that's getting all the attention, or is getting the space in their life that is allowing them to actually grow. So what's coming through here, Aquarius, is actually quite interesting. It's not that the other person is stagnant because they choose to be. It's more like they have had to halt their growth because they haven't been in an environment or haven't been given the opportunity to grow or to evolve or to change or adapt. So this might be someone like, say, sorry, the light's going weird. Where can you see it? Just have to push it right into the corner. It's like this one. Sorry, the one that isn't taking up the light. It's like almost just as an example situation. It's like the parent that has to stay home and watch over the kids, and they're limited and they're just not able to grow or not able to do anything. So now I'm like, oh, maybe that's the Aquarius, and you've been feeling stuck in a cycle or feeling stagnant. You see, this is why it's just swap and reverse however you feel sort of fit. But there's basically one individual that seems to be getting all the opportunity to keep their life exciting or to keep going on to new endeavors, and then one person is kind of left behind, like, I'm stuck with the kids, there's not much that I can really do, but alas, I'm gonna have to be on this repetitive hamster wheel because that's where my responsibilities lie right now. But it's almost like there's this complete miscommunication or a confusing perspective of the situation. It's like neither of you are viewing the situation actually quite accurately. It's like almost a level of empathy and consideration needs to kind of be approached now. The elk needs to look at the smaller little plant and be like, hold on, okay, maybe my situation is a bit different because I'm actually being allowed these opportunities to expand and grow. And you're craving that excitement. Whoever this elk is craving that because the home life seems just so repetitive and so cyclical. It's like, you're reaching towards that energy. But you need to change your perspective and be like, well, actually, it's not that the other individual doesn't want to be out there experiencing it with you and growing and doing all the exciting things. It's like they just kind of are sort of stuck in a rut, which is interesting because elks and like deer, they rut, don't they? It's just a weird little play on words, but they're like stuck in a rut, like they just can't move, like they're just fixed where they are. Sorry, the light's going really strange. They're just fixed where they are. So it's not that they don't want to be out there with you, Aquarius, and this might be why you're perceiving them as sort of like boring or a bit dull. It's that their responsibilities just lie elsewhere right now, which is why it feels very much like this is a couple who have kids, who've been together a long time. Or perhaps one of you is like stuck at home a lot for whatever reason at the minute, and then the other one, you know, is out there sort of experiencing day to day. You know, there's some sort of a change in perspective that needs to happen, because neither of you are necessarily seeing the situation entirely accurately. Okay, so we'll get a bit more. We'll go for this deck. Quite interesting, Aquarius. Get some more for Aquarius, please. Okay, we've had two cards come out in reverse. So we've had the Eight of Wands and the Six of Pentacles. Okay, I'll show you them reversed just so you can kind of see the imagery, but then I'm going to read them upright because then it's just easier for you to understand. But just keep in mind that all this energy is reversed, okay? So how the interpretation that I'm going to give you is obviously the reversed one. So you see how we've got one individual here who's working really, really hard, like slaving away, and then the other individual here is like giving something to someone else. So this is what I was kind of saying, right? So it might feel like one partner is in work at the minute. It seems quite specific. One partner's sort of in work at the minute, and you know, they're earning the bread, they're being the breadwinner, they're slaving away, and then they have to kind of just give everything that they're working hard towards, or everything that they're earning, they're having to give it to this one here. But whereas usually I see this individual here as like a negative, like someone who's taking. It's like this person, same as what I was saying before, this person is just not in a situation where they can earn right now. Perhaps they're unwell, or like I said, they're stuck at home looking after the kids. But whoever the elk is, whoever is the one that's, you know, working really hard to earn the money or to, I don't know, be the breadwinner, I'm kind of seeing this elk sort of like turning up its nose, like, ugh, sort of rolling its eyes now. So I don't know whether the other individual perhaps has a bit of a trigger happy finger with overspending or something, and maybe that's just caused like a rise in frustrations. But there is something about like the elk energy is not wanting to give any more to the situation. It's like they're being a caretaker or a caregiver for this one. And they don't necessarily, they're just kind of tired of it. They don't want to do it anymore. So with it being reversed, all of that, what I've just interpreted, is still a part of the message. But what I'm actually getting from this reversal now is the same as what I was saying before. It's like perhaps this other person, the other person in this party, they too used to work hard. They used to, you know, slog it. They were working hard, chopping down, earning the bread, earning the money, and they were giving as well. It was like an equally balanced sharing of responsibilities. But it's like that's been cut off from them now. I'm not sure what it is that's cut this other person off from either growing or going from work or whatever. You know your own situation, but it's like that was actually taken from them. So perhaps they were made redundant. You know, that could be another situation, and they're just really struggling to find a job at the minute. So they're kind of just stuck at home. But it's almost like because that's been taken from them, whatever that represents, you know, whatever it was that they were working on each day, whatever they were sort of, I don't know, putting their time, their energy, and their passions into, when that was taken away from them, it's almost like that's what's caused the halt in growth. It's like this person also needs the stimulation, Aquarius. This person also needs the excitement. They also need something to be working at, new ideas, new projects. That's probably something that brought you guys together in the first place, because like I was saying, it definitely feels like a long-term relationship, right? So you guys have been together for quite a while at this point. You know you're solid, you know you're stable. But it's like recent events have caused this sort of just like an imbalance. And I do kind of want to say, whoever this elk is here, and I know this might insult someone, but please don't take it as insulting, but it's almost like they're saying you kind of need to step down from your ego a little bit. I know someone might get insulted by that, and I don't mean it in an insulting way at all, but you know, the elk, he's so mighty, right? He's like king of the forest. You know, he's like the emperor of earth. He's sort of held so highly, right? But it can, you know, with the sun blazing here, right? The sun represents our ego in the esoteric. So it might be that, you know, whoever this elk is just maybe needs to bring their ego down a little bit and try and see it from this other person's perspective. Don't throw away something, Aquarius, that you know is worth its weight in gold. You know, everyone who's been in long-term relationships, they will go through rough patches. They will go through times, like phases, cycles, where you're not necessarily seeing eye to eye. But, you know, if fundamentally, you know, you're a strong couple, you're a strong partnership, and you have been for some time, but circumstances as of late have sort of shifted the dynamics slightly, don't throw it away too soon, because you know, it's not, I keep coming back to this, like, it's not, this person doesn't want to be in this situation. They don't want to be stuck at home with the kids, even if they love them. You know, they still want a different part of life. They just still want something that stimulates them, as you still have, Aquarius, or vice versa. They're looking for a job, but they just can't find anything at the minute because the situation just isn't allowing them to. You know, there's something that you definitely have to see things from a different perspective, Aquarius, and just kind of almost just come off the high horse a little bit. Again, I don't mean that to be insulting to you, but there's this definite need to kind of bring in this singer of healing energy. It's like everything needs to just kind of come back to calmness now, and you perhaps need to sit down with one another and have a real open and honest discussion and have some real open communication about how you're both viewing this situation, how you're both viewing it from perspectives, and try and understand where the other one is coming from. So that seems to be the advice, okay? So even if you've, you know, potentially come to this decision in your mind that you want to separate, or you've had the conversation and you have started separating, there is this kind of sense of you need to come back to it. You need to come back to it, Aquarius, and just have this open and honest communication, because you might be quite surprised what comes up through that open and honest sort of dialect. Okay? Okay, Aquarius, I hope there was something in there for you. If not, there will hopefully be something in the next video. If you liked it, please subscribe or give this video a like. But Aquarius, I do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Mwah. Bye, Aquarius.